Am I talking? Is Aslan talking? It's me.
You're
Let's
talking.
go, everybody. See how organized we are at Warchant.com. Welcome in, Warchant TV. How are you, everybody? Subscribers only. So we all going to funnel? What are we doing here? Let's everybody get a little loose. Come on, let's have some fun. I won't introduce everybody. You can see the talent is overwhelming. It's all there before you. And from here, we'll answer questions, have a good time, encourage you to get on the YouTube, encourage you to ask away. We're all here for various moments in time. I have to leave a little bit early, but this gang is ready to go. So let's get to, and we want to thank you, first of all, for being subscribers to warchant.com. And thank you so much for being dedicated to the work we do. We're hoping to do big things in the upcoming year, and we're glad to have you on board. Boys, you want to say hello?
I think Gene's starting us off, right?
Yeah, I want to just again take a minute as we we're in a new era here, entering college football season. Camp starts tomorrow. If you're not aware, obviously a big day today with the board of trustees meeting, coaches luncheon. But this is kind of a start of a new whatever we got going on here for this season. Everything. First of all, I broke out the good stuff, the good scotch.
Oh,
I want to thank first of all the subscribers. I don't know if you guys are aware, we're 1 year and 1 day away from moving over to On3, and it's been a great year. And boy, it's just our loyal subscribers that followed us over here. It's incredible. That's why we have this fantastic staff, because you guys support us. And I can say this without hesitation at all. Not only do we have the best staff and best guys on the FSU beat, we have the best beat anywhere. We beat everyone, our staff. There's no college outlet that has this kind of support from you guys and this much talent. You guys work your ass off. So thank you, and thank our subscribers. Looking forward to a great 2023 season.
I didn't know I was supposed to break out the Don Julio.
I'm telling you.
I had a feeling Gene would toast our great subscribers, so I grabbed a little chorus snub nose, a little chorus snub nose for everybody.
Jeff,
here.
you know they call that a yellow jacket, right?
Yeah, well,
I've got some vitamin energy. Anybody wants
getting a plug on this?
Dabble of that.
Rory's right on brand.
Yep, that's what I do.
who wants a spatula? Anybody want a spatula? Okay.
Well, Sarah, are you going to pull up your joint? I'm sorry. Did I say that where everybody could hear it?
Yeah.
I just got a Miller. I don't. I got something.
You don't partake in that? We got you, man. We got you.
I'm sure we get a cannabis sponsor there, right? Nowadays, sure.
All right. So, questions, or this is what we're doing here?
And I'd let them know that heck, if you're watching, you just pulled up the page. You can post on our message board. So there's a thread for this. You can post a question there. Or you can go ahead, if you click on the YouTube link, it should bring up the chat window like normally. But this is only Warchant people that are taking part. So those are the two ways you can participate with us.
So Brandon asked a question on the chat right off the bat and said, do you think that we have an offer from the Big Ten? One by one, boys. Let's go. Gene?
I spelled it out. I think if you're on Warchant, you saw kind of the updates I put out. There's definitely, I've heard from multiple people, there is something going on back and forth. There has been some discussions. But what I don't know, do they have an offer in hand? I kind of doubt they have a hard offer in hand. I think the Big Ten has expressed there is some interest there. And part of that interest could be dependent on how Florida State is tied into that grant of rights. How can they get out? If Florida State can get out of the grant of rights, I think an offer would be right around the corner. It'd be right there. But obviously they've got that thing hanging over their neck right now. Apparently it's not as big a deal as a lot of fans and a lot of us thought in the media. According to the board of trustees, but I do think there is definitely some strong interest there. I guess we'll find out maybe here, hopefully in the next few days or few weeks, how strong that interest is.
Yeah, whether or not they have an offer that they can do anything with, I don't know. But I think that they feel strongly that I think Florida State feels like if they do decide to exit the ACC and tell the ACC we're leaving, whether that's in 12 months or 24 months or 6 months or whatever it is, I think they feel like whatever conference might be interested would say, okay, well, if you feel strongly that you can get out of your grant of rights and you can come on, then we'll make you an offer. I think they feel like if they're on the open market, everybody will want them, or at least the Big Ten at the very least, and then it's just a matter of doing it. So I think to me that today was about, and you guys did a great video, great breakdown. For people that haven't seen it, they should go watch it. But to me, this was also about putting the rest of the ACC, kind of letting the rest of the ACC know we're jumping in the water. and y'all can come on in too if you want. Find your news conference, and just kind of and letting these other leagues know that Florida State's serious about moving. I just don't think you could walk it back at this point. So I think they have to feel strongly that they're going to have a home whenever that time comes.
Corey, you want to add to this?
I want to know where Clemson is. What are they doing? If Florida State's like the breaking the wall, like they're the lead back, so Clemson can come in afterwards. Like Florida State's going to be the bad guy. Like why Clemson has every right to be thinking the exact same thing Florida State is. Are they going to have a board of trustees meeting and lay out these same concerns? You think?
Well, I can say this: that talking to people that cover Clemson, behind the scenes, there are plenty of people in high levels at Clemson who are confirming to the media that cover them that they're looking also, and that they're working the phones, and that they're proactive also. But if you're Florida State, again, I think there's always in the back of your mind, are you really going to jump with me or not?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if anybody really knows the answer to that. I can tell you behind the scenes, Clemson is posturing like they want to go also.
Guys, since this happened, in the last 24 hours has been a whirlwind for everybody. But I started thinking about it after we did the video today that Ira just alluded to, where it was me and Tom and Gene talking about this. Not only can they not walk it back, Ira, 100% agree. I think they've got to be emboldened and get even stronger. I think you're all in at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if before the date of August the 15th or 16th, they announced their intention to leave. I think they're going to be aggressive from this point forward. I think we were always building to this point. It seems to me like this was a lead-in marketing campaign for over a year. It started with Alfred telling everybody about Florida State's brand and how good the numbers were, and it led to very specific numbers being leaked to various media outlets all over the country to where we sit today. I think they're going to do it, and their hope is that from there, the dominoes begin to fall. Because if you're Clemson or anybody else that starts to realize this is not a landing spot any longer, maybe you take the cue from Florida State. They've embraced the role of villain, and they've decided to go all in because they know one way or the other, whether they have to go to court or whether they get an offer or ESPN comes to the table or Fox steps in, whatever it is, the status quo will not work. So screw it. We're all in.
Yeah, and I'm curious for now, Ira and Corey, you weren't in on the conversation earlier, and we discussed a little bit about the timing of all this. So I know we've got that August 15th deadline coming up. But also was mentioned during the Board of Trustees, maybe a 12-month, kind of period to do this out. But we started talking about it, and I'm curious to you guys, what is the downside? At this point, the ACC's done. I think we can all agree. It's Drew Weatherford said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how and when. So if with that August 15th deadline coming up, what is the downside of coming out before August 15th and saying officially, we're putting our notice, we're out. Let's get going now. Is there really any, why not do that? Why wait 12 months?
I mean, yeah, that's a fair question. I don't know specifically. I haven't had a chance to really talk to anybody since the meeting to get a feel for that. The only thing I could think of why you didn't make a vote today and why you're giving them however much time it is because, look, if the ACC or the ESPN wants to come back and say, okay, we're going to give you and Clemson this much money to stay or whatever, it's that valuable. Because one of the pitches that I think one of the trustees made was, basically, I don't understand why the ACC doesn't realize, and I think she was speaking also to ESPN, that this conference is kind of screwed. And, if you want to keep it together, you need to do something. And then another trustee said, basically, I'm concerned about these other ACC members. I'm worried about them because, and it's like, yeah, no. Sure you are. But the message they were sending to them is
on the old one.
But I think it's they're sending two messages there to me is like one. Yeah. Hey, ESPN, if you want to try to figure out a way to make this work and you don't want us to go to the Big Ten, then we're open to hearing it. And then with the other conference schools, it's like, hey, we're leaving. Imagine your next contract without us or without maybe Clemson. Yes. So you got to figure out where you're going to. And then if that dissolves the whole league, now that takes care of all the penalties. So
I think you give them a year, Ira. You kind of give them a year to see if they can figure out anything.
Maybe
keep the league afloat.
Well, I think maybe to me, the ESPN would be the quicker window. To me, these other schools would have the year to decide, okay, we just need to give up. We need to find new homes. Because then at that point, because you wouldn't have to pay the exit fee tomorrow or next week. You'd have to pay it at some point, but you'd have that year where the whole league just maybe destabilizes.
But haven't they had a year already? I mean, they've had a year. They've been doing this for a year behind scenes. Nothing's happened. And just because you file the divorce papers doesn't mean you couldn't get back together some last-minute reconciliation. That's why I'm saying it's better to expedite this thing instead of putting it off for a year.
Yeah.
Well, to your question, though, sorry, Jeff, just jumping. Gene, to your question, at some point, this is going to end in litigation, right? This is going to go to court some way, somehow. So the fact that they're going to go to the deadline, like maybe that shows in good faith when they do file a lawsuit that, like, we tried everything. We tried all the options. We didn't leave early. I mean, maybe that would portend to being a bad sort of mark on them if they do have to go before the courts at some point.
Well, I'm sure they've got records that they've been dealing with this, talking to ESPN, talking to ACC for the last 12 months. At least they've all said how much they've worked to do it, and they haven't gotten anywhere with it. So to me, I don't know if that would be that much of a factor. And you say litigation, I think it's going to be, this will be negotiated at some point, whatever that, if the GOR doesn't just go away, something's going to be negotiated between all the concerned parties, in my opinion. It's good faith, if it gets to that point with an arbitration or litigation, yes, that would play a factor. But I'm guessing they've done that for the last 12 months.
I also think at this point they've jumped into the deep end. They have no choice. If they don't get out of this conference in 2025, they're going to look like the biggest a-holes on the planet. So I take it Baltimore just won, Ira?
No, they're about to start here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Or they may have just started.
So,
That's the first pitch celebration. Yeah.
Just wanted to remind everybody of who's in first place in the American League.
I'll remind everybody the Pirates lost earlier today to Detroit. So what I would tell you is that they got no choice now. The three guys that will look like the biggest a-holes on the planet if this doesn't work out is the president, the head of the board of trustees, and the athletic director. They have to now. I mean, they're all in. They've pushed all their chips into the middle of the table. Florida State has to find their way out of this conference, and soon. Period.
Yeah, imagine what would happen if the ACC and the ESPN were just like, and then Florida State just like, all right, okay, well, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, play it here in 2032.
Hey, it's a little bit of a drunk text. We were angry.
Yeah,
I'm really apologetic for all this. Forgive us. No chance. By the way, Zyler wants to know, how many subscribers are there with Warchant? I thought I heard On 3 said we were number one.
Yes, we are. Come on, guys. We're number one.
It's not even close, guys.
We're number one. I'm not going to give exact numbers, but yeah, we are way up there. We're number one and On 3. And let's keep that going, guys. Come on.
the whole network. The whole network, we're number one.
Yeah.
Is there anything to take away from FSU buying 2 planes today? Did you know that happened?
Yeah.
How did they get them for that price? What was the one board of trustees member said? I don't know how you're getting that kind of deal on 2 planes. It's just like the old one, you got to get out and pump the propeller to get them going.
He sounded like a guy that was going to like a breakfast special. He goes, how much for 2 eggs?
Yeah.
I've never gotten 2 eggs for cheaper than $5. How did you get 2 eggs for 3? Like, I think Peter was kind of laughing. He's like, yeah, man, these are used. These are going to be used planes, 6-seaters.
They're like it's not the plane you're used to.
Yeah.
It's an ACC plane, guys. It's just an average plane. It's an ACC plane. Michael, how does this affect recruiting?
It'd be big. It would be massive. Obviously, if you went to the SEC, the boom would be astronomical. Like, because you're talking about geographically, it affects everything, and then you can say a big, you know what, to Florida, because they use that all the time. Like, hey, they're not in the SEC, so that will be a big, you know what. But I think overall it's going to be a pretty big boom for whether it's the Big Ten or the SEC. So, and I think parents, not so much recruits, but maybe parents and families and people close to the recruits are the ones that are paying most attention to it. But I think once it happens, or it's going to happen, then you'll see a lot of excitement. Certainly, I'll have a reaction to all the different avenues as far as recruiting. But I think it would be massive, and I think it does to a small degree, it does hurt them that they're in the ACC, because teams use that against them on the recruiting trail. Even though FSU recruits itself as a program, they obviously recruit very high, but it makes it challenging for the staff.
Also, don't forget the NIL too. I mean, everybody talked about that. And if you're suddenly getting that boost of that money that funnels into the program, you've got more money that can effectively go to the NIL, which helps obviously recruiting, transfer portal, retention, all those good things.
Thanks, Noel. Thanks, real quick, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Noel Finn Rob, for your re-upping. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Good job, Noel Finn, Rob.
Cheers.
And I would add too, like Battles End has been very huge to help with recruiting. They've done a great job. There's a lot of excitement about what they've done from the NIL department. So not that I'm encouraging people when they can give, but it's certainly something that's been very productive for FSU in recruiting.
What you do, Michael, is you sign up for warchant.com and maybe give a little extra to warchant.com, and then we'll decide how much of that goes to the Battles In.
Right.
It's just a thought. It's a good way because
get you a linebacker too.
Yeah, we're fair in that route. If somebody wants to know about the linebackers, I'm not the guy to ask about that. I've got a negative opinion about what's going on at linebacker. But
you're not
by the way,
Michael, that's you.
Adam Fuller said he was not aware that you had been petitioning for months, years.
Oh, yes.
For Leonard to not Leonard. What I'm saying,
Ryan Courtney
to move over from tight end.
He was very like, why didn't Jeff tell me?
What?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because he has eyes on a hypothetical. Which player do you think should maybe move to another position? And we said, well, I said it would have been Courtney, which we all talked about. I go, I got to give Jeff credit for that. He goes, what are you talking about? I go, Jeff's been talking about it. At first he goes, he never listens. I'm like, what's wrong?
He doesn't. He doesn't listen. Yeah.
But he said, why didn't Jeff tell me? I'm like, I don't know. You could have got. He said he could have taken credit for it.
He's acting like he didn't know.
Of course he listens. Give me a break. Come on, Adam. Who are you trying to fool?
There's my guy Steven in the chat. What's up, Steven?
Is where I missed Steven. Where is he? I missed this. Sorry, I'm going through all these. I'm trying to get to these other questions. Here, hold on.
He's a family friend. Great guy.
In a moment, Aslan's going to take over for me. He's a very capable.
Thank God. This thing could get on the tracks.
Yeah, we got to steer this thing back, and I got to turn it over to the consummate professional. But, one thing I'll say is I want to get to like 3 of these really quickly, and I want to weigh in on these, and then you guys, Aslan will take it over like the pro that he is. Scott writes, the vitriol from the national media over FSU going public with a desire to leave the ACC. Where is the disconnect and doubt in what FSU is doing? I brought this up earlier. It's almost like politics. It's crazy the way this is played out. The second Florida State announced that their situation was one that they will no longer remain in, though everybody from all corners are like, you sons of bitches. I mean, they're furious at the idea that Florida State would want to leave a conference that sees them $30 to $40 million behind annually. I don't get it. It's nuts. It's a lot of that political othering. Like, you sons of bitches are going to take the chair. It's a game of musical chairs. You're going to take my favorite team's chair. I can't believe this is happening. Like, they're so mad.
You know what it reminded me of is when you just brought it up, Corey's big complaint at the end of Bowden's tenure, when you had the TV people mocking Florida State, saying it looks like a JV team, and then when they pushed Bowden out, how the hell could you get rid of Bobby Bowden?
It was unbelievable. Every day I'd go on the air and they'd be like, oh, Florida State's a joke for pushing the greatest coach in the history of football out. Then Saturday would roll around and they'd be like, this is embarrassing. Wait,
Hashtag
shot over Florida State. Yes.
Mark May. Remember him, everybody?
Yep.
Mark May. Oh,
name from the past.
God.
Those guys would rip us for a 10-minute segment and chuckle at the embarrassment that was Florida State football. And then somebody would go, should they move on? Well, Jesus, guys, let's slow our roll on all this. I mean, it was crazy.
What's funny to me, too, is looking on Twitter, and I'm not going to be on there much here recently, and I talked about this on the Wake Up Warchant that'll be aired tomorrow. It's pretty humorous to see, let's just say, a Louisville media member mocking Florida State for wanting to leave. Because as we all remember, Louisville is a charter member of the ACC. Yeah. It has been here through thick and thin. It didn't leave a conference of their own for greener pastures. I mean, this is what it is, man. And what I don't understand is the real people that understand football schools. You want to compete with the best in the country.
Correct.
The research triangle isn't about that life. Neither is Boston and neither is Pittsburgh. But Clemson and Florida State, and I guess Miami used to be, care about competing nationally. And you can't do it. It would be like asking the Carolina Panthers to play in the NFL, making $40 million, having a $40 million less salary cap than the Dallas Cowboys. They wouldn't do it. And so why are you asking these huge football schools to do it? It just makes no sense that they don't understand why Florida State is in a dire situation to try to get out of this conference.
They understand, but they're worried they're being left behind, Corey. That's what it is.
Well, I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
also, the idiocy, and I want to throw real quick, is just when you see, and I saw Feinbaum, when the Florida State first complained back in February, and Feinbaum kind of led the charge on this, talking about, well, other than last year, Florida State hasn't been very good the last couple of years. Why should they say anything? Like, what is wrong with you? I mean, do you not know it has nothing to do with that?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if Wake Forest wins the ACC every single year. Nobody's watching them. They do not bring in revenue. Florida State, even when they're at their worst, they're still at least the second best and usually the first best product financially wise, ratings wise, revenue wise there. And I think that the BOT has done a great job of throwing that information out there, how marketable Florida State is. It's nothing about you had a couple down years. I mean, Alabama sucked forever. You know, people forget about that, and all of a sudden, they're the cat's meow. Just because you're down a couple of years does not mean you're a marketable property. And they
alma mater sucked for 25 years. Yes.
between 1992 when they joined the league and 2013, Florida State won 3 national titles. I'm trying to figure out who else won any national titles during those 2+ decades. And it's just what would the ACC's contract have been if Florida State didn't join the ACC?
Yeah. There wouldn't be an ACC network. Yeah. There wouldn't be an ACC network.
No,
there barely was. There barely is now, but there wouldn't have been if Florida State wasn't doing what it did.
Yeah.
I'm serving up the softball to Aslan. Last 2 guys. I will be with you longer next time. I know you don't care. Whatever. Sorry about that. Gotta go. P. Simpson writes, is there a scenario where Florida State bails without Clemson? JL asks, does a quarterback transfer this season? The quarterback room feels awfully full going into next year. By the way, I think somebody will transfer from that room at the end of this season. And as far as Florida State bailing without Clemson, you guys answer that. Love you all very much. Peace.
See you,
Thanks, Jeff.
Later, guys.
I think I would obviously Florida State wants to leave with Clemson. I mean, that's a united front. Your 2 best properties leave at the same time, which is your ultimate goal is to break up the conference so the GR goes away. I think Clemson is very important in that because if they stay, you're kind of screwed. But again, Florida State doesn't have a choice. Even if Clemson, for some bizarre reason, wanted to stay and just sign their own death warrant, they could do that. And there, I think Florida State would still try to find a way out, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think Florida State. I think today was basically a message to all these other schools that hey, if you got cold feet or not, we're going, and you need to decide what you're going to do. Because the fact that they had 7 schools talking earlier in the spring, all 7 of those schools, I know for a fact, were not ready to jump. Like they were all interested. They all wanted. It's like if you if you have like people over for like one of those. Like a sales part, like what they do with the multi-level marketing, and they bring people over, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I'll come over for the free drinks," and I'll look at some of this stuff, and then only one person may actually commit. I think that's where Florida State was, and now they want to see who's legitimately going to come, and now they'll know based on the phone calls Peter Collins is getting today, and their staff are getting over the next few days. They'll have an idea of who's actually willing to go.
What was the other question Jeff threw up there?
One of the quarterbacks transfer.
Yeah.
Since I'm talking, I'll just finish. There's a good chance. Yeah. I think that there's a good chance one of those quarterbacks will transfer. I would think. We've heard so many great things about Brock Glenn. Luke Kromenhoek will be coming in next year. Tate, I don't think Tate would transfer unless he lost the job. Like if he went into the spring and lost the job, or if he got beat out for the number 2 job this fall, maybe Tate would leave. But of the likely candidates, I would say Duffy's most likely if he can't establish some clear separation between him and Brock Glenn.
And I will say we've been hearing nothing but I talked to Tokars today. You can watch that interview here on Warchant TV, man. It just you talk to everybody. Everything about Brock Glenn has just been really super positive. Not only we saw it in the spring, how much better he got. We've heard about it all summer, man. I think that his star's on the rise right now. So I kind of agree with you, Ira. I think if I had to, maybe nobody leaves, but if somebody, I would right now, nothing changes. I would guess Duffy be the leading candidate.
They got somebody on the hook for 25, Michael, as well. I mean, I know they got Kromenhoek for 24, but they already got somebody for 25 in mind as well, too, right?
Yeah, they have Trammell Jones out of Mandarin High School in Jacksonville. He was at the Seminole Showcase this weekend. He also threw. He's a guy that Tokarts likes a lot. Norvell likes a lot. Can make all the throws. He's not your usual. He's kind of a combination of runner and thrower, but a guy that I think is going to come in there and certainly going to be a part of the mix, but he's a guy that can make all the throws that you're looking for, and that's he's really jumped out to the staff even early. They were on him early, and then now Florida's trying to get involved, and I've heard maybe Alabama might have some interest too. But I think this is a guy that, and we've seen this consistently with FSU. They get on these guys early with their eye evaluations, and then all these other schools try to, kind of show some interest and push there. But yeah, Chamel's the one that's coming in for the future.
Matt, you're on KJ Bolden duty. Parker wants to know anything new on KJ Bolden.
I mean, I think at this point we know what everyone else knows, right? Like all the Auburn stuff. He just came off. The visit at Auburn went well. From what I'm reading, there's a lot of NIL there, and that's the competition. But I think it's between us, Auburn, and Georgia. Throw Ohio State in there minimally because I think it's his cousin or someone his family coaches there. But at this point, we got a good shot. And we know that, but there's not much new coming up. We know what you know at this point. In my opinion.
When's the date?
August 5th. We don't know the time. I'll chime in on this because people kill me if I don't address KJ Bolden on here. 5-star plus guy from Beaufort High School. I feel like at least at this hour, if I was making a pick, I would pick FSU. Like I would pick FSU.
Oh, Michael, there we go. There's the clip.
But
suck on that, ACC.
I think
he wants to play in the SEC apparently.
Yeah. I think he's still in decision mode. Now that could change, that could shift. We know NIL or different things in schools, and I think Auburn's very much in it. I think people are discounting Georgia, and I think that's a mistake. To discount Georgia. I think Georgia's been the strong favorite for most of this recruitment. I think Auburn made a nice surge. Right now, if I was picking the two teams that I think are battling, I'd say FSU and Auburn based on the intel I have. But again, all this stuff is nothing new. I'm just reiterating what I have right now. Obviously, I'm going to post probably another update on Thursday, and then we'll go from there, see if anything's changed or if any momentum's changed. But that's kind of my feeling as of now about where things stand with KJ Bolden.
Are we gonna unmask Regal Knoll today, guys? People are asking whether or not we actually know Regal Knoll, or at least the thoughts that we have on the. Has it surpassed 2 million views now, Gene?
Oh, it's way over that.
Yeah, it's over that. Was Peter Collins at the beach? That's the big theory. No.
Okay, guys. Okay, I am Regal Knoll. All right, congratulations. It worked.
Yeah,
We
good
played
job,
this
man.
to the hilt. Great job.
Yeah,
imagine the numbers we get if we unmask Regal Knoll in a Warchant exclusive on Warchant TV.
Somebody's asking if we got Peter Collins' screen name. Maybe now you know. Maybe now
Only
you know.
I know.
Yeah.
We got stuff going on before the LSU game. Seth Quads over on the
Yes.
Travel Council was wondering, can we organize a subscriber cruise on the Victory Casino? out of
Ooh,
wow.
Man, I did. Oh man, we've already got. I'll tease it a little bit. I think in the next few days we're going to announce officially, but I can say there will be. So the night before Saturday, probably late afternoon, happy hour type thing. We're going to do a live headlines. I don't know if you, Corey and Ira, if you know that we're going to be on Wall Street, right off of Wall Street, a place called Hooch's, which is a huge sports bar right on Wall Street, and that's where all the events are going to be going on. So you guys will be broadcasting live from there. So Warchant subscribers come out and join us. We're going to try to have a section for just Warchant people, so we give you guys a little bit of access to that. And then we're waiting. Give me just a week or two, but we've got a Warchant private event that night. Will be a limited opportunity for some subscribers to get in there. So we'll put up a post in the Tribal Council to go in and reserve your spot for that. And we're going to say any more details, but that evening, Saturday evening, there'll be a private Warchant event in Orlando. We'll let you know. But then on a big stage in Orlando on Wall Street, the pregame show with Jeff and Tom, will have that there as well. And the Warchant staff will be around to interact with you and have all kinds of fun. So details coming very shortly, but we've got you covered, and we will make sure we take care of our subscribers in Orlando.
Shout out to our guy in South Florida, Jeremy Ivins. Apparently just regained power and Wi-Fi.
Awesome.
Big Sky or Mountain West?
Whoever pays more.
Yep.
Big Sky guy.
I know you
So,
like Montana. You want to make some trips out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Bozeman's beautiful in the fall, I promise. Chauffel family friend Steven, football question. We'll start with you, Ira. We'll go to you then, Corey.
Okay.
Are we slightly concerned if Fabo, that would be Fabian Lovett, everybody, is slowed in the uncertainty of Daryl Jackson's waiver?
So yeah, just so people know, the internet sleuths have uncovered that in the FSU Breaking the Rock video for Tatum Bethune, in the background, you could see Fabian Lovett actually had a little boot on. which is pretty common. They, a lot of the players, when they've had any kind of issues, they'll wear those protective boots to kind of, just take pressure off of it. I don't get the sense that it's anything long term. We don't know if it's going to affect him in camp at all. We'll have to kind of monitor. We'll see tomorrow when they're in practice, and we'll see what Mike Norvell wants to say about it. As far as Daryl Jackson, and the combination of the two, I mean, it's a concern, but it's, we talked to Adam Fuller today. I tweeted a little video from him where he just said, we have to operate as if Daryl's going to be able to play. And Daryl has worked hard. He's preparing to play. They're expecting him to play. If they get bad news, they get bad news. But as far as right now, they're still planning to have him. So,
and I would think with
I want to hear from Tom
good.
first. Tom does trenches. Tom,
okay.
is this a concern? I mean, Odell wants 5 guys. This would take away 2 really big important pieces. Yeah. Concerns if that boot is a lingering issue and if Daryl's not available.
Oh yeah, I mean it is. It's pretty significant. If you were to lose both of them, now I know that Ira's saying he's not projecting that, and it doesn't sound like that. But if you didn't have either of those guys available for LSU, okay, so what are you looking at? Josh Farmer and
Braden Fisk.
Braden Fisk, and then Dennis Briggs. I mean, at that point, so that's one.
And Malcolm Ray and Daniel Lyons.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be back where you were a year ago, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's a concern. There's no doubt about that. But, I do want to see early in the season if Florida State, not necessarily in game 1, but against Southern Miss and Boston College, the next 2 games, just, Daniel Lyons and Ayo Tafasi, how much have they developed? Because they're promising. They're promising talents.
Yeah.
Corey? Sorry.
Go ahead, Corey. Yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say that, man, with Fabian Lovett, when it comes to him, I know he wants reps and you got to get into game shape, but my man's 23 or 24 years old. You just want him healthy for September 3rd. He's not going to get a ton out of preseason camp anyway, because he's done this. He's been in college since 2018. The Daryl Jackson is the one because he's a difference maker. And it wouldn't make any sense that he didn't get the waiver. But here we are. We've been saying that for 6 months now, or 8 months now. So you want it to go ahead and happen here in the next 5 minutes. Maybe it'll come down. I wanted to say, though, Aslan, that Steven asked a much better question than this about 10 minutes ago, and we flew past it here on our debut episode of this. He wanted to know what happened with the high five at the press conference today.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, Ira, you should regale the folks with that story.
It wasn't even a high five.
I know. It's just my shoulder is so loud.
So, when Corey asked an insightful question, as he's prone to do, and Mike Norvell gave him a shout out and said that was a great question. So I just gave Corey a little attaboy. I just patted him on the back, and Norvell thought that was funny. So he was
a teammate.
He appreciated that.
The teamwork.
You got a little shout out from for your good question.
It felt good.
Yeah.
Next time, chest bumps, guys. Let's really.
That's how our team is. That's how our team is. We like to roll like that.
Ben,
I don't know what I'm going to ask after I saw that. I'm like, good gosh. I mean, how do I follow that? Great question.
You don't.
And then Mike seemed to want a high five from Ira. Afterwards, like, hey, am I?
Well, who doesn't? Everybody does.
Yeah. Tom should tell Steve wants to know who Ben is. Why don't you tell Tom? Why don't you introduce Ben, maybe?
Ben does a lot of things that make all of us look good. That's the long and short of it. Ben, where are you broadcasting from? And introduce yourself to the Warchant community.
First of all, that is my grandma's quilt in the background.
Oh, nice, man.
They called me out for that, so I just want to set the record straight.
We already knew that, Ben.
Fine craftsmanship, by the way. It's the job done. But yeah, I'm actually in my house in Kentucky, so I do a lot of virtual work from afar. So yeah, try to make you guys look good.
We appreciate
What about
it.
It's hard.
What's going on with Jeff Brom and the Cards, man? Optimism?
Hey, I'm excited. They have pretty much a high school football schedule. For those of you who don't know, I graduated from the University of Louisville, so hopefully they can run the table. I don't know though. New head coach. We'll see how it goes, but I know they got a lot in the transfer portal, so we'll see.
Make sure you thank them for Jordan Travis. Yeah. FSU appreciates that.
You're welcome, guys.
Thanks to Spee, he just renewed. He graduated from FSU. Home of wildly popular radio host Jeff Cameron.
Right.
Tom,
I wonder. Sorry, Spee needs to let us know if do they have plaques up for Jeff Cameron there? Do we have? Is there a sign when you drive into Johnson City? We need to know.
Todd Bruce has asked twice now about he wants a call-in segment. He said he would give Gene $1 bazillion. Maybe we could use that to offset the grant of rights. If Jeff Cameron were to take 30 minutes out of his busy schedule and talk to the people.
Todd, I would say this. Jeff likes call-in elements to his show at the same level that he loves, say, the St. Louis Cardinals. So, I mean, we could try. There's always a number, as Florida State is trying to find out what the hell is the number.
Hey, I got an idea. Now that we're doing these AWAs, I mean, there's no reason why we can't take some calls here. Because again, once we put the number out only for our subscribers. So, and Jeff would be on here, so that might be a compromise. So
I'll be honest with you,
and say, Jeff, this is for you. Here's my question to bug the crap out of you, since I can't call your show. So maybe we'll do that.
As well as the Lene Kukua protest.
Nope. Gene, I know you're the owner, and this is your website. I vehemently disagree with that idea. We don't need callers. These questions are beautiful. Callers, as we did it for about a year or two.
We love them on the post-game show, Corey. Our callers are the best.
Yeah, well, that's different. But this could, you know, you don't want to be rude to people, but if they talk for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes like I'm doing right now, you got to hang up on them, and that makes you look bad.
Yeah, Todd, so Corey's response to callers right there is the rated G version, and Jeff's would be NC-17.
Yes, Jeff would get us all fired.
For sure.
This is a subscriber-only thing we're doing here. Gene and Tom came up with it, the Ask Warchant Anything, spin-off of the Ask Me Anything, which maybe we'll do that when we're traveling, and hopefully we won't be delayed at all, but sometimes people do that on their social media accounts. But Tegan's got a 3-parter, so they're one-upping Ira, so we'll go to you, Ira, but maybe we can unpeel this and, you know, I think we've all talked about our opinion on leaving this conference, so I guess we can just focus on the first two. What would happen to the in-state rivalries if Florida State were – I mean, if they go to the SEC, one of them will at least stay intact, but I wonder if that would affect the Miami one. Would they lose both if they go to the Big Ten? And then the comments from Chairman Collins that he said to you and Tom the other night about concerning travel to away games in the Big Ten. I'm a booster member, season ticket holder. I disagree with Chairman Collins in that that will prevent many fans from going to games in the Rust Belt. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, real quick. I guess I'll take the last one first. I don't think Peter Collins wants them to be in the Big Ten. I don't think that that's the goal. My guess is they would prefer to be in the SEC, but nobody knows if the SEC is willing to expand. Like, the perception has been that really neither the Big Ten or the SEC wanted to go much further in 16. Now the Big Ten's pretty much making it clear they're ready to keep expanding. The SEC hasn't done that. So I think, you know, you want it for leverage. You want to let people know, yeah, we're not worried about geography, but I have no doubt that they would rather be in the SEC if possible. Back to the first question, which was...
Well, they have the Miami or Florida games go away.
I mean, really, it's just to me, it's going to come down to whatever conference they go to. If they play 9 league games, it's going to be really hard to keep both those rivalries. You're not going to play 9 conference games, Florida and Miami out of conference, and only have one, you know, easy game to kind of as a tune-up. So, yeah, I think if they go to a league with 9 league games, they're probably going to have to give up one of those, which would obviously suck. So hopefully it won't happen.
Don't you think if they were in the Big – I think the hypothetical is mostly like if they go to the Big Ten. Obviously, SEC, they're playing Florida. They go to the Big Ten. I could see – let's say Miami probably ends up – I doubt they're going to the SEC, so they're probably a Big 12 or somewhere else. I could see that game still going. But won't there be some animosity from ESPN and the SEC with Florida State going to the Big Ten? So I could see that game, unfortunately, maybe going away if Florida State went to the Big Ten.
Yeah, I was kind of on the flip side of that, Gene. Like Florida is such a pivotal part in the FSU history.
I know.
That I think people within FSU would want to keep that game.
Now, Miami too.
Miami, yeah, whatever. I mean, those guys.
Texas and A&M don't play anymore. I mean, it's just when you go to different conferences, that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, I just think people from FSU would probably push harder for the Florida one. You know, my opinion. But what do I know? I'm recruiting.
This will be buzzy, Ben. You probably would have to clip this video out that Tom or I would film for you. Noel Boyo 2 asks, fellas, when we win the ACC, how will Jim Phillips react as he gives us a championship trophy?
I'd love to see that.
Award as the game MVP.
Oh, man. That's a great point. It is the John Swofford Award.
Yeah.
Isn't that perfect?
Oh, my gosh. Can you what so let's say someone brought up early, if let's say Florida State end up playing, somehow Clemson falls apart, it's Florida State, North Carolina in that thing, and Florida State's already put in their notice. They're bolding. What is the over-under number of flags against Florida State, against North Carolina for the ACC championship? Because they don't, Phillips and nobody wants Florida State up on that stage.
Buddy, what's the over-under for the rest of the whole season? Like,
Oh
that's,
my God!
you know,
Can
doing this
Vegas?
August 2nd instead of December 2nd.
Now.
No, man, like, that was one thing I was legitimately thinking, and I was not the only person that's covered Florida State, is, man, they don't get a good whistle in this league anyway.
Yeah.
Wait till you see what happens in the fall of 2023. It's not going to be pretty. It just isn't. I promise you.
If they do win the ACC, though, what I want, if Peter Collins, look, man, Peter Collins has a lot of money. He manages a hedge fund. He's got money. He's got disposable income. Pay off the PA announcer to play that NWO music, Hulk Hogan's NWO music, and then spray paint on the ACC championship trophy, spray paint SEC or Big Ten, whichever one you want to go to.
Okay.
And then strut out.
Nice.
Strut out. I think that's how you do it.
He could line his coat too. He'll have the garnet coat on, but he could line it with the logo of the conference and take a photo with it and put his arm around Jim. Just, there it is. Yeah.
Scott Kaufman, following into the Ask Me Anything theme that we've got going on here. Ira, suppose the Clemson game's the same time as the ALCS, and it's Game 7 for your O's. Where are you watching live? Which are you watching live?
I mean, all right. I'll be at the Clemson game, but I will have my iPad, and I'll be.
Let's understand, Ira, that can't happen though, because that game is played in late September. So
Right.
the Orioles, the ALCS will not be there.
Yeah.
You might be playing a game to see if you win the AL. You weigh in the AL East. Trust me, as a Braves fan, I've had to deal with this over the years. Like,
yes, you
pivotal games in September that matter. I know a lot of folks here aren't used to that, but it can be a little troubling on Saturdays.
I damn sure I'm not used to
that. Jay Sauls, does Corey legitimately have to sleep with a Box fan every night?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. I took it on a cruise with me. These guys have seen me bring it into the hotel.
Hey, but we got news for you, Corey.
Uh-oh.
Aslan, who was telling us about the app? Someone I was talking to somebody that there's an app that mimics the box fan noise on an iPad.
Does it mimic the air in my face?
Yeah, he needs
I need the wind too. It's a two-pronged attack, Ira. It's not just the noise.
I thought we had something there.
Gene, you've handled this one on the boards, but maybe some people are obviously aren't able to get on the boards all the time, but we appreciate you being subscribers. Azai 25, would the Ireland game be affected if FSU were to announce they plan on leaving the conference?
I hope that's a legitimate point of discussion. Can you imagine next year at this time, guys, we're previewing our game against Ohio State or Auburn? I mean, how much fun would that be? I don't see any scenario where that game is going to look. If for some bizarre reason they're out of the ACC in a year, and that seems very optimistic. There's been too much going back and forth with too many contracts and promises and fans putting money down and all this. I think they would still make that a non-conference opener for Florida State next year. I mean, unless you guys disagree with me, it seems like that would really be a screw job to a lot of people of Florida State. Say, we're out of that. I mean, you have non-conference games scheduled anyway. We'd think the Big Ten or the SEC would work with Florida State to keep that game intact. It's too big of a moment. Too much is going on with that for that. So don't worry if you put money down. You're going to be good. Florida State will be in Dublin next August.
I would note that's also a Georgia Tech home game, isn't it? So wouldn't that make life easier for Florida State when it comes to logistics of non-conference games? Because you're not giving away home revenue per se, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nolfin Rob, who has recently re-upped his subscription to warchant.com, which we appreciate.
Awesome.
Thanks for hanging out here for an hour or so. Gene broke out the good scotch. Is it smoky? Is it a peaty scotch?
It is. We got the Glenlivet 14, if you can see that. So we got pretty good stuff there. It's not the best, but it gets the job done. So we're happy with it. It's got a little peat to it. Imagine that, a little peat taste to it.
I like it. I didn't research and see what happened with Texas and Oklahoma. It's kind of playing out in front of our faces, though. But Nolfin Rob wonders, and maybe Ira, you might be more equipped to handle this one. Let's say the Board of Trustees does schedule a meeting and they vote to leave. What kind of timeline does it take to inform the conference of our intention after a meeting or a vote is made?
Yeah, I mean, I think that August 15th date that we've been talking about is the date where they'd have to let them know that by next year they want to be into another conference. Again, the fact that a couple of the Board of Trustees kind of threw out the idea of taking some time, maybe within a year, or having an exit plan, makes me think that they're not planning to do that. We'll have to see. I guess it'll depend on what the response is from other schools. But yeah, that's it. And if it's not by this August 15th, they will do it by next August 15th. and they could be out the following year. So that's really the only date I think that I'm aware of that they have to meet.
In the spirit of celebrating the ACC, start with Tom, and then we'll go to Corey on this. North Carolina, Noel, asking predictions on the starting offensive line heading into the season. And we'll go to our recruiters after this. We'll get Matt and Mike to talk about one freshman they think will impress the most. But Tom, starting from left to right, LSU, Orlando, Camping World kickoff. Who's starting on the offensive line?
Man, it's hard not to pick Robert Scott. And I know I talked to Alex Atkins today, that video that's up on Warchant TV. That's I was able to talk to him for about 10, 12 minutes. But I still got to stick with Robert Scott at left tackle. I think that slots Bless Harris as your right tackle. So
did you get any insight from him about how Rob's doing?
No, he just said coming along. But, we can judge these things and how they say, what they say. And I didn't take it as anything other than he's up to speed. This is on schedule, so to speak. But the thing that Alex Atkins did say today that I found interesting, he says, I tell all of my guys, there's nothing I love doing more than benching old dudes for younger players, which that was really fascinating. The only position that he would commit to being kind of locked is Maurice Smith, which I also found interesting because Casey Roddick is battling for center, and I know
Let's go, Mo.
So, yeah, Alex said the quiet part out loud. He said, I told Mo, I'm trying to bring somebody in to replace you. And Maurice always responds, bring it on. I got no problem with that. And so it sounds like Casey Roddick's snapping issues haven't been cleaned up. With that said, one more caveat. Jeremiah Byers, they want him to be a fixed, learn right tackle before they mix him around. But I'm going to say that's misdirection, and here's why. Jazz played most of camp last year at right tackle, and then they were going to have McGuard anyway. So here it is with all those caveats. Robert Scott, I still think Byers is going to be your left guard. Mo Smith, Dimitri Emmanuel, Bless Harris. There you go.
I've got Robert Scott, Casey Roddick, Maurice Smith, Dimitri Emmanuel, Jeremiah Byers at right tackle, continuing his 2,000 snaps he's played in college at right tackle. Just think that he's going to stay there. But I get your point. I'm so far out on this, I'll probably be wrong. Corey, we've discussed this one. Where do you got left or right?
I don't know. I know that there won't be the three main backups will have more experience than any three backups in the history of college football.
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Whoever they are. It could be Emmanuel, it could be Condre Jones, Darius Washington. They've all started 25 games or more in their careers.
That's what I was going to say real quick. That we never even talk about Darius Washington, who has, I think, more career starts than any of them.
Well, no, not Roddick has like 40 something.
Okay, well, more than most of them.
It could be any of them, though. That's the hard. That's such a hard question to answer, and it could be fluid through the season.
Ira, do you feel like more comfortable projecting the starting tackles or the starting guards right now? Which makes more sense to you in terms of what you've seen and what you're hearing?
I think the starting guards. I think it's going to be Casey Roddick and Dimitri Emmanuel, at least in the opener. That's what I think it's going to be in the opener.
Yeah. One more thing on that. Atkins said today that they don't mind the idea of rotating. They want 8. That's the number that they always search for. 8's the magic number, and then there's a drop off after that in terms of snaps. But they may switch guys in and out based on matchups week to week. So you could have a starter at left and right guard one week because a defensive line or a defensive front seven aligns one way, and then they do something completely different the next week. So by the season's end, the snap count could be as big of a mess as the problem seems to be now. It's a good problem, though.
Gene, can you believe we're here, like arguing about which guy, depth, quality, talent at the offensive line, and just how pivotal that's been for this turnaround for this offense and this program?
Well, I mean, if you really want a wake-up call, go back and look at the PFF grades from 2020 and 2019. Ooh. And you had guys that I don't want to call these guys out. You had guys literally grade in the single digits out of 100.
Yeah. Or when the PFF does, you could rank the whole, how many offensive tackles are there, Corey or Aslan? 600, 700?
In the country? Yeah. Starters,
and
300.
And they had guys who played or started who were one of the last 10 or 15 in the country. Yep. It's come a long way.
Yeah. There's some games where I think we had a couple offensive. They were tackles. Again, you probably forget who they were. They had a 6 out of 100.
There was a zero
I think
in there.
Corey, you could go out there, just fall down, a guy would trip over. You probably at least get an 11, right?
Maybe. I don't know. If they picked me up and carried me to the goalpost, I'd get an 11 or a 15 just for being alive and breathing.
Part of the question is also asking about a freshman that will impress the most, Michael Langston. I'll also give you and Matt the luxury of maybe picking a redshirt freshman. Who's the one freshman you think will impress the most this year?
I don't think you're going to see much of a freshman because you don't want your freshman offensive lineman out there. But the two guys that I feel like are going to play the most that haven't, I guess, started, so to speak, is Julian Armella and Jalen Early. Those are two guys that are high on my radar. I think they're both going to play a lot, in my opinion. I think those guys are going to move into, well, we'll see that in the fall battle. But if I had to pick two, those are the guys. I'm not going to pick a freshman because those guys just don't usually get in there, especially with the experienced guys that they have in there or guys that already had played there that are on the team or even the transfers. I think those are the two I'd pick.
Matt, you can give us a freshman anywhere on the field. I'll give you that luxury. Who do you think is going to impress the most?
I wanted to say Destin Hill just to like get the hype
Say it.
out.
Yeah,
Say
do
it.
it.
All right, I'll say Destin Hill.
There you
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm glad he's finally here, and think he's gonna do well. I gotta say, I saw him on social media. He was on a boat, and I was like, man, I'm afraid he's leaving again. And he's like just getting out.
Yeah,
But, he's still
going
here.
across the pond.
He's still here. And also, Aslan, is this like the retirement for that ACC hat? Are you throwing it in your new shed after this, or is it like a commitment ceremony where like you're throwing it down and you're putting on an SEC? Like what's that?
I'm just letting Jim Phillips know he has some allies still
Right,
the
yeah.
Warchant ranks, just in case we need to get another radio row spot next year if we're still hanging out in Charlotte. So
Oh, how odd is that going to be? They put in their notice and we saw one last ACC media day and we all have to show up to that thing. That would be.
Speaking of which, can you close up on me? I'm going to try to play this. I caught this when I was walking out of the
Orioles
the
up
hotel. No. They were taking down the ACC.
Oh, nice,
So-
Ira.
So
Look
I
at
was
you.
like, oh, this is fitting. As I was leaving
Live
kickoff the other
stream.
night,
Yeah, I might need that, Ira.
they're taking it down.
Developing.
Closing time.
There we go.
I got something for you too, Ira. Just something to bless you because of the way that you reacted to Matt's naming
All right.
of Destin Hill. So I'll bless you with some Sam Kinison.
Oh yeah, that's a 40-year-old movie. I like it. Back to school.
Yeah. Get me off a solo, but yeah. There you go.
That's
Kevin B, when we announce a new conference, can we get a Jeff suck at ACC? But even more importantly,
You will.
Corey can do a conference.
I absolutely will do a conference too, if and when that happens.
Number 2. That's
Oh man.
Do we have to have another
Hey.
another keg party, keg
Oh.
stands, funnels? Once Florida State gets accepted to one of the big boys.
Yes, for sure. And I need to redo on my funnel. Hey, the other thing, I just want to give a shout out to you guys, the members we didn't know how many people, because when we do normal YouTube videos, it's open to the masses and we get sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of people watching them. But a few hundred, having over a couple hundred people in here, they're just subscribers. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you guys.
I appreciate it.
Again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Speaking of those subscribers, they originate over on the Warchant.com Travel Council. Pool Boss. That's a new name. We've heard about the research dollars and the monies associated with AAU status as helping our academic departments. Do you think that aspect factors into conference realignment decision-making, Gene?
Short
Or
answer,
Ira.
no. I think it's talked about a lot. The AAU. I think is it a factor? Sure, but I think it's such a small, minor factor in the grand scheme of things. I think it's times have changed and college football has become big business, and this is really run more and more by the networks, the Fox. If you're going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars of these things, they have a major say in this. They don't care about AAU. If they say, look, we're going to increase our market share, get more advertisers by having Florida State and Clemson in the Big Ten, the president's going to listen. That's their network partner. And to me, the AAU thing is massively overrated. But it can't hurt Florida State's. Obviously, if you listen to today's Board of Trustees meeting, they're making strides in that area. There's a big push to academics, and the Florida State's academic standards and standing has never been higher. So I think it can't hurt. I just don't think it's really a relevant factor.
I know where it doesn't matter. SEC, baby.
Yeah, that's right. They don't even know what that means.
So
I told that teaching lady the only letters I need to know were USDA.
right.
It's a meme, everybody. Jeremy Ivan, shout out to Vishal as well, though. Vishal's down in Orlando. He says he'll see us all in Orlando.
Dang right.
He certainly will. Jeremy trying to create some buzz here. Anyone notice the shot that Patrick Surtain took at Marcus Woodson today?
Oh no,
I didn't speak to Coach Surtain. Who spoke to Coach Surtain?
I did. And I don't. Maybe it was a different person recording a different portion, but no, he was perfectly fine when I talked to him. He did say Woodson was terrible, and he's glad he doesn't. He's not on the staff anymore. But I didn't take that to mean he was taking a shot at the guy. No, I don't. I don't know what that's in reference to. Quite honestly, we just talked about the versatility of the cornerbacks.
There's
and
our man
Kevin
Jay.
Knowles learning safety.
Yeah, good.
Jay in the house.
Jay, if you don't know who Jay, he's every big event down in Orlando, all these events you've been down to for any FSU thing, he's always the guy behind the scenes.
Nice.
And I've been working with Jay for a lot of cool stuff that's going to be going down there before the LSU game. So stay tuned, and we've got some really cool stuff set up for our Warchant subscribers down there.
And we had a great time, thanks to Jay. We had a great time before the bowl game, so I can't wait for this.
Ben, what are you going to do when Louisville plays Florida State if it happens again? Like, do you root for us because of business interest, or like does the family get Louisville love?
You better. I mean, that's you know what to answer.
Aslan, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
that's what. Hey, man,
Send them up for
don't
Philly.
put them on the spot.
I can respect it. Back to the Tribal Council. Optimist climb. Gene, who's going to be starting at defensive tackle week 1, and we'll move down the ladder here on our left sidebar.
Fabo, I think Fabo's good to go. He'll progress. He'll be good to go healthy wise. And then I'm going to go with Daryl Jackson.
Nice.
Throw it out there.
Stan Wilcox. Take that, Stan Wilcox.
Let me say something on this too. And I've been meaning to say this about Daryl Jackson. I know people keep going, the longer this waits, it's bad. I disagree. The longer that waits, the better for Florida State. And you're going, what does that mean? What is the one thing the NCAA can't stand? It can't stand lawsuits right now. They do not want to be in court in anything. And I know legally the fact if they put this thing off till, let's say, August 25th and they deny the transfer, they deny the waiver, you have not given them a chance to do anything. You by your negligence, by not doing it in a timely manner, you screwed the kid over. That's just going to give him a better suit against the NCAA when he brings his mother in public, and plus the public opinion and all that stuff too. It's horrible for the NCAA to wait this long and then deny him. So I am even more convinced he's going to get that waiver. There's nothing to worry about. They will be the starters against LSU.
Let's go. Ira, give us some more good vibes.
I'll say Fabian Lovett, and I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with, I don't know. I'm debating. I'm going to go with Dennis Briggs. I'm going to go with the underdog.
Ooh, what?
I'm going to go with the underdog.
Is this one of those like senior day things where they get one play and they pull them out?
We'll see.
That's not against LSU to start a year.
I think we'll see. I think Braden Fisk is going to move around a lot. I think he's going to be a guy that's a spark plug. I don't know that he's going to be. I don't know. I'm not expecting Braden Fisk to be on the field 60 snaps.
Yeah.
So I just feel like he's a guy you rotate in more, and I just don't know about Daryl Jackson yet. And the fact that so I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna zag for Gene, and I'm gonna go with a wild card there.
Corey Clark.
I'll go with Gene, Lovett, and Jackson. That's who I like. Braden Fisk is going to play more than Dennis Briggs, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, he might.
Michael Langston.
Yeah, I mean, all of them are great picks. I think for sure, Lovett for me. I mean, the guy is like you've shown this different examples of when he doesn't play what happens. So I think Lovett will definitely be in there. I know some have picked Daryl Jackson, some have picked Dennis Briggs. I'm going to go different. I'm going to pick Brandon Fiske. I think Brandon's going to be the guy. Because athletically, he does a lot of things that a lot of guys can't do. And you put two of those guys in there that what Lovett does athletically, I think you're going to see more of him. Now, I think they're going to rotate all of them, so I don't think it really matters who we pick. I think a lot of these guys are going to rotate in. But overall, I'd pick Fiske.
I like that Langston gives him a pronunciation on his last name that isn't right. He goes with Fiske. Everybody else calls him Fisk.
That sounds better.
And he rolls with Fiske.
That's why I do recruiting, man. I don't deal with the team stuff, so I leave that to you.
I like it.
I'll let you correct me and show I'm wrong.
I want one of the remaining cast members to go with Josh Farmer because that would be.
Yeah.
Thomas, hey, our French guy.
Mr. Lasser, who you got?
Well, Ira stole my thunder. I was going to pick Fabo because that's obvious, and then Josh Farmer.
Let's go.
There we go.
Yeah, all you guys are like optimistic about Daryl Jackson. I like to be I'll see it when it happens kind of thing. So in my mind, it's like he's not there right now because we don't know or not. But I like Farmer there.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, Matt's a Cowboys fan, so that's why he's like that. So just so you know.
Another one.
Hey, Corey's the one that made fun of you for pronouncing the name wrong. Don't take it out on Matt.
Oh, I'm gonna get
Both
Corey.
Cowboys fans.
I'm gonna get Corey back later. So I'm
Hey,
just waiting
Michael,
for the right
I'm
time.
trying to take care of you, man. I don't know why nobody else said anything. I was like, hey,
telling
man,
you.
I prefer his pronunciation. It
he's
gives
going to
him a
have
little
21
flair.
tackles for loss this year.
Yeah, and then watch the announcer say his name just like I
Fisky.
did.
Maybe
Yeah.
it could be pronounced Fisky. I like it like that. I think it's a better
Yeah.
pronunciation.
Ben, over under 1.5 snaps for Daryl Jackson this year.
The whole year?
Yeah.
I'm going to be optimistic. I say over for sure.
There
He's
you
going to
go.
start week 1. But I'm with Matt. I think Joshua Farmer is going to make a big play in that LSU game.
Wow.
He's scary looking.
Do it, yeah.
I like
There you go.
Tom Lang, trenches, your expertise. Who you got week 1 starting on the interior for Odell?
Well, I think Ben has ingratiated himself very nicely tonight by saying that Daryl Jackson will be cleared. This could be a tricky one because, like, Fisk could line up at defensive end to stop the run, and he's on the field, but he's not starting a tackle. They could do that with Briggs, too. But I'll go with Fabo and Fisk because at the ACC kickoff, Verse was talking him up like crazy, saying he's been very, very impressive in the offseason. So,
Tom, who is this Fisk guy you're talking about?
Yeah, he's got a brother.
Okay. Just wondering.
Verse was also talking up Byron Turner, and Papuchas was talking up Byron Turner today too at the luncheon. Go check out all those interviews. They're on our YouTube page. We've eclipsed the 1 hour mark. Someone's asking about punt return, kick return. Anybody found it interesting that Lawrence Toafili apparently is like the answer maker about punt return?
That was telling by Norvell today about that. So I think maybe he's carved himself out a role there.
How do you know that in the offseason, though? Like, are there summer workouts where there's live contact and you figure out? I mean, that just seems kind of strange.
Well, I will say the one thing, Tom, and I remember going back to Mickey Andrews' day when he coached special teams and that punt return thing. It's all about fielding. I mean, the number one thing is, can you get under the ball? We've seen that. I don't have to tell anybody who's seen Florida State the last 2 years. Getting that punt and not letting it bounce 20 yards behind you is the number one thing, and then not fumbling it or muffing it. The fact that maybe he's doing that consistently in those summer workouts, which by now, by the way, if you're not aware, coaches are now allowed to be out there for a lot of the summer workouts. So they get to do football-type drills with the guys, including returning punts. So maybe he's really excelled in that department, which you can tell. And we know what he can do with the ball in the open field. And that's second nature. He has that. If he's got the other part down, then I can see why maybe they're so excited about him.
Yeah, and I would add some background to that, Gene. Like, obviously, I was around his recruitment, and when he's from Pinellas County, shout out to Pinellas. He's over there from that area. So, in the first thing the high school coach told me is like his first position that they played him was punt return because he was the most sure-handed guy. Athletically, he could do things that a lot of guys can do, but he was so sure-handed back there that they wanted to have the ball in his hands all the time. So there you go. You're welcome, guys. There's your background.
Nice.
One last thing. Can I make a request real quick? Absolutely. Can I not be in the Mrs. Brady spot next time?
What do you want to be in the Marcia spot? I mean, come on.
No, maybe like Peter. Maybe
I'm in the Peter spot, aren't I?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Can I get that?
No.
Gene's in a great
spot. Can we get rights to that song so we can do this and play that in the beginning so YouTube doesn't flag us?
Gene's in a great spot though, because Sure Jan is like Sure Gene. Sure Gene.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. We're going to do these occasionally throughout the football season. We might even showcase certain people on the panel here. It might be ACA Ask Corey anything, ATA Ask Tom anything. We'll have Ira maybe here in the mix. Do want to thank you all so much for joining us, not only for this last hour, but for the last year, for the last 10 years, 20 years, however long you've been following Gene and Warchant.com. We're we like habits and routines, and you went to a website every single time and you logged into it, and then we just overnight went somewhere else, and y'all followed us, and that's extremely awesome. We can't tell you thank you enough. These guys are all awesome. You all know just what Gene's done with this website, what Ira continues to do, helping run things day to day with all the content. Corey and his great columns, his vacation stories. Apparently people like what you've been doing.
Right.
Michael, living and breathing, recruiting all the time. Matt coming on and helping take that to another level. Tom, doing everything he does with the JCS, and obviously all these video content items that are new and original that we're producing. And Ben doing it behind the scenes. Director Ben, some might say, with the strings there. So This is the time, Ira, where I ask you what's going on the website, but there's so much. Or you say one last thing.
I always got my one last thing. So first of all, thanks Ed Bagley for the advice. Now I know the trick. I'll take care of that. Appreciate it. And then number 2, spread the word, guys. Go when you're on the tribal council or social media, whatever. Tell people how cool this is. That it's subscriber only. Let everybody know that this was fun. You enjoyed it, even if you didn't.
Lie.
Just kind of because we want more of you to take part in it. The more the merrier, and so spread the word. Let people know it was a good time.
I was kind of hoping you keep Ira up there so they could do a high five. That could be their thing. Ira and Corey could do a little
I'm not
high
smart
five
enough to
action
even
there,
know how to do it. I'm going in the wrong direction.
But yeah, as far as content, plenty of content. We'll have more football stories coming from today's interviews. Plus, I'm gonna have a little column brewing about the ACC stuff and Florida State. So we'll have that coming, and then tomorrow we'll be covering practice. Pretty much everybody here except Ben will probably be out at FSU practice tomorrow,
Yep, observing and writing about observations.
Jeff Cameron as well. So we'll have plenty of coverage out there for you.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We appreciate the heck out of y'all. And tell your friends.
Is there a live wake up tomorrow, guys? Aren't we doing that?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock p.m.
Late night. Yeah, get the late
night wake up.
Vitamin Energy time. Vitamin Energy time. And tell your friends that aren't members they can sign up for $1 for an entire month, or they get 25% off an entire year. So tell them to come home. We certainly would appreciate it. Look at that. See, it's ESP. Ben and Tom just know what buttons to push, and I'm just sitting here blabbing. So, Destin Hill, best freshman of the year. We just said here on record too for Gene, Michael, Corey, Matt, Ira, Ben, Tom. I'm Aslan. Thanks for watching. Stay connected to warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Have a great one.
Cheers, guys.